They called it the Fall of Doom. A dive so violent, so fast, and so unstoppable that no German pilot who found himself beneath it lived long enough to warn others. It came from the sky like a meteor, a silver beast weighing 8 tons, screaming toward the earth faster than any European fighter dared to follow. This is the story of the secret American diving attack that German pilots simply could not survive. The story of the P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug, and the deadly vertical kill strike that changed the air war forever. The monster the Germans laughed at. When the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt first appeared in Europe, Luftwaffe pilots laughed. It was huge. It was heavy. It was unlike any fighter they had ever seen. At 8 tons fully loaded, it was twice the weight of a Bf-109. Short, stubby wings, a big round radial engine that looked like it belonged in a bomber, and a massive, rugged body that seemed far too bulky for aerial combat. German pilots radioed to each other. "Look, the Americans are sending flying refrigerators now." But within months, those same pilots stopped laughing, because that refrigerator would soon reveal a secret behavior in the sky. A terrifying maneuver no German fighter could match, a maneuver that turned the P-47 from a joke into a predator. The Jug's hidden superpower. The P-47's design looked clumsy, but inside that body was something unheard of in European fighters. A gigantic Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double-row radial engine, the same engine used in American bombers and naval fighters. It gave the Thunderbolt a brutal, unmatched advantage. It could dive faster than any other fighter in the entire war. Not just a little faster, hundreds of km/h faster. German fighters, elegant, light, aerodynamic, were designed for European dogfights, not vertical attacks. They had limits. They shook and fell apart if pushed too fast. But the P-47, the Jug thrived in a dive. Its enormous weight, powerful engine, and tough construction allowed it to drop like a stone, but maintain control. American pilots soon discovered this accidental superpower, and they began experimenting. The dive that broke the sky. In early 1943, pilots of the 56th Fighter Group, the famous Wolf Pack, tested something never done before, a full-power maximum angle diving attack from extreme altitude. They climbed above 25,000 feet, leveled the plane, picked a target far below, then pushed the nose down, hard. What happened next stunned everyone. The P-47 didn't just dive, it fell. It screamed through the sky like it was ripping the air open. German pilots who saw it described it like a meteor plunging toward Earth. The airspeed indicator began spinning past safe limits. American pilots reported the needle slamming into the bottom of the gauge, unable to measure how fast they were going. Yet the Jug stayed stable. It didn't shake. It didn't break. It didn't lose control. This unnatural stability at insane speeds made something new possible. A vertical ambush strike that no German fighter could escape. The first plunge kill. The first documented kill using the deadly dive attack happened near the Dutch coast. Captain Walker Bud Mahurin was escorting B-17 bombers when he spotted 2 Bf-109s climbing underneath trying to sneak in. Mahurin radioed, "I'm taking the high perch. Watch this." He climbed even higher, far above the Germans, then rolled his Jug onto its back and pushed down. The Germans didn't even know he was coming. The Thunderbolt accelerated like a falling building. Wind shrieked across the canopy. Vibration hammered the cockpit. Mahurin held his breath as the altimeter spun down like a clock that had gone mad. The German pilots saw something flicker above them. Too late. Mahurin fired a 2-second burst from his 8 50 cal machine guns. A storm of fire ripped the first Bf-109 in half. The second pilot jerked his stick, trying to escape, but he couldn't. His lighter fighter simply could not dive fast enough to get away. The Thunderbolt sliced past them at terrifying speed, pulling out of the dive with a roar the Germans never forgot. The Luftwaffe knew that day. A new kind of predator had arrived. Why the Germans couldn't follow? German engineers studied the attack reports and quickly discovered the problem. Their fighters could not survive the same dives. Here's why. 1. The Bf-109 had a very low terminal dive speed. Its wings were thin, not built for extreme pressure. 2. The FW-190 suffered severe compressibility issues. Its control surfaces froze in high-speed dives. 3. German engines were liquid-cooled. Sudden dives caused coolant pressure spikes, sometimes blowing the engine. 4. Their airframes simply could not take the stress. A 500-plus mph dive could rip the wings off, so when a P-47 went into a vertical dive, German pilots had two choices: try to follow and risk death, or break away and guarantee the American pilots survived. Either way, the Thunderbolt won. It was the perfect combination of weight, ruggedness, and sheer brute force. The Jug's death-from-above tactics. By mid-1943, P-47 squadrons refined the secret attack into a formal strategy. The high-perch ambush. It had 3 steps. Step 1, climb higher than the enemy. P-47s used their turbo superchargers to cruise above 30,000 feet where German fighters struggled. Step 2, wait, watch, don't move. The sky below was their hunting ground. Step 3, drop. The Thunderbolt would flip over and fall straight down like an execution hammer. The Germans called it Der Sturz, der tötet, the dive that kills. This tactic became the most lethal P-47 maneuver of the war, more effective than turning, climbing, or energy fighting. American pilots joked, "If it's below you, it's already dead." The Germans tried to adapt. Luftwaffe command desperately searched for solutions. They tried new tactics. Tell pilots to never fly beneath Thunderbolts. They tried new formations. But P-47 simply used their dive to break them. They tried faster fighters. The Me-262 jet was promising, but too late. Too few, too fragile. They tried teaching pilots to break into the dive. But by the time a German turned, the Jug was already on top of him. Nothing worked. Nothing could work. Physics itself was on America's side. The most terrifying dive of the war. One of the most legendary P-47 dive attacks happened on March 6, 1944. The 56th Fighter Group was escorting a massive bomber stream toward it. Berlin, the first daylight raid ever attempted. German fighters swarmed the bombers. Captain Francis Gabreski saw a group of FW-190s slashing upward. He shouted, "I'm coming down like a freight train." Then he pushed the Jug over. This time, the dive was beyond anything he had tried before. The P-47 howled past 500 mph. The wings groaned. The plane shook violently. His vision blurred from the G-forces, but he held the trigger. Tracer rounds slammed into the first FW-190, blowing off its wing. He shifted the nose slightly while still diving and shredded a second. The Germans broke formation in panic. They had no defense, no chance. Gabreski later said, "They looked frozen, helpless, like they knew the sky itself had turned against them." Why the dive win the air war? Historians often credit the Mustang for winning air superiority, and yes, the P-51 was unmatched at long range. But the early and middle years of the European air war, those belonged to the P-47. Here's why. The dive attack changed everything. 1. It destroyed elite German pilots, quickly. 2. It forced the Luftwaffe to fly defensively. 3. It disrupted bomber interception tactics. 4. It gave American squadrons psychological dominance. 5. It turned every sky above Germany into a trap. The Thunderbolt made the Luftwaffe bleed before the Mustang ever arrived in large numbers. By 1944, German aces began telling rookies, "If a Thunderbolt is above you, pray. If you try to dive away, you die." The last dive. Near the end of the war, as Germany collapsed, one final dive attack became legendary among American pilots. A lone FW-190 attempted to break through and attack a straggling B-17. Lieutenant Robert Johnson spotted him thousands of feet below. He whispered, "One last time, Jug, take me down." He pushed forward. The P-47 dropped like an avalanche. The German pilot tried to dive, but physics betrayed him. Johnson fired at extreme speed, tearing the plane apart. He pulled out so low that his wingtips sliced through tree branches. Later, he inspected the damage. Leaves were stuck inside the gun ports. The diving kill had pushed the Jug beyond anything the designers ever imagined. The secret the Germans never solved. After the war, German engineers examined captured P-47 airframes. What they found shocked them. The radial engine could survive abuse liquid-cooled engines never could. The oversized fuselage made the plane nearly indestructible. The massive weight allowed it to pick up momentum unmatched by any Luftwaffe design. The aerodynamic shape created stability at transonic speeds. The tail control surfaces kept functioning even during compressibility. In short, the P-47 was accidentally perfect for vertical warfare. The Germans could never replicate it. They didn't have the materials, the engineers, or the time, and so the secret remained America's alone. Legacy of the deadly Plunge. To this day, pilots and historians agree No WWII fighter executed the diving attack better than the P-47 Thunderbolt. It became the ultimate hit-and-run killer, the master of altitude dominance, the undisputed champion of vertical maneuver warfare, the nightmare of Luftwaffe interceptors, and the savior of countless American bombers. German pilots left behind diaries with entries like, "When the Jug dives, God help you. When the Thunderbolt entered the zone." American pilots soon discovered something strange during extreme dives. At a certain speed, somewhere beyond 400 mm, the P-47 entered what they called the zone. Inside this zone, the controls became smoother. The shaking reduced. The plane felt like it was cutting through liquid steel. Stability increased instead of decreasing. German aircraft entered chaos at those speeds. The Jug entered perfection. Major Robert S. Johnson explained, "Below 20,000 feet, everything slowed down. Above 20,000, the Jug became a blade." It was this zone that allowed P-47 pilots to fire accurate shots during dives that should have been physically impossible. The Germans never experienced it. They never understood it. But American pilots lived inside it and killed inside it. This secret aerodynamic advantage made every dive attack not just deadly, but inevitable. The day the Luftwaffe learned fear. March 1944, the sky over. Germany looked like a battlefield of smoke and aluminum. The Luftwaffe launched more than 150 fighters to break an incoming wave of B-24 bombers. At first, everything went according to the German plan. They lined up, dove through the bombers, and prepared for a second attack. Then the sky opened. Like arrows falling from heaven, 24 P-47 Thunderbolts dropped from 28,000 feet in a synchronized dive. German pilots looked up and froze. This wasn't normal diving. This looked like the Americans were throwing steel boulders from space. One German survivor later said, "They did not fly, they fell, and they killed everyone they touched." 7 German fighters were destroyed in 30 seconds. The rest scattered, formation shattered, attack canceled. American bomber crews wrote in their logs, "The Jug saved us. We saw angels made of metal." On that day, the Luftwaffe finally admitted the Allies owned the vertical war, when even ace pilots had no escape. Luftwaffe aces were confident men, veterans with 100+ kills. They could outturn, outclimb, and outshoot most American pilots. But none of those skills mattered against the Thunderbolt's deadly plunge. One example. Hauptmann Hans-Ulrich Dohle, an ace with 87 kills, he spotted a lone P-47 beneath him. He smiled, a perfect bounce attack. He dove, but the Jug suddenly rolled inverted and dove straight down. Dohle pushed harder, harder, harder. His 109 vibrated violently. Warning lights flashed. His control stick locked. He had reached his limit. The Jug kept going. Dohle survived but returned shaken. His report said, "Thunderbolt pilots do not dive. They vanish." From that day onward, even Germany's top aces refused to enter a vertical chase with a Jug. Skill could be defeated. Training could be defeated. But physics could not. The secret meeting in Berlin. Late 1944, as the Allies pushed deeper into Europe, Luftwaffe engineers held a classified meeting in Berlin. Their mission: find a counter to the P-47's vertical dominance. Proposals included dive brakes on German fighters, reinforced wings, new turbo systems, shock-resistant control surfaces, even copying the Jug's radial engine design. But every solution had the same problem. Germany had no fuel, no aircraft aluminum, and no time. Their factories were already shattered by bombing. Their pilots were dying faster than they could be trained. One engineer famously ended the meeting by saying, "We cannot fight this aircraft. We can only hope to outlive it." The P-47 had done something extraordinary. It forced the Luftwaffe to admit defeat while the war was still raging. The Jug's final transformation. In 1945, the P-47 reached its ultimate form. The P-47M, a monster, built specifically to outrun German V-1 rockets and intercept high-speed jets. It kept the same deadly dive ability, but added even more speed and high-altitude power. Now fully optimized. 2,800 horsepower, 470 mph top speed, reinforced wings, better propeller efficiency, enhanced dive stability. This was the final evolution of the Thunderbolt, a machine built to dominate the last months of the war. German pilots facing it late in 1945 wrote, "We are prey. They are hunters." By then, the Jug wasn't just a fighter. It was a weapon of momentum. of gravity, of unstoppable descent, and the German Air Force was finished. The sky remembers the jug. When WWII ended, the P-47 Thunderbolt left behind a legacy no aircraft has matched. The best dive fighter of the entire war, the most rugged Allied fighter ever built. The terror of German pilots, the silent guardian of American bombers, the master of the vertical battlefield. The Luftwaffe lost the war the day the jug took the high perch, because from that height, nothing survived its fall. To this day, pilots say, if the jug is above you, your life is already behind you. This was the secret diving attack German pilots couldn't survive. This was the Thunderbolt's deadly plunge.